Ciao, welcome back to Geriatric Alpha Runt Productions. I am Garp here across all the major platforms of YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, we're doing it. And today I have a very special guest, Scott Higginbotham. And we all know Scott as Higgy. Higgy and I go way back. How are you today, Scott?
I'm good, Anthony.
Fantastic. We've got a great show lined up for you guys today. As always, what we're going to do is we're going to break this up into several sections. And then that way, if something is not of interest to you, you're able to fast forward through it and not have to listen to it. In the first section today, we're going to talk about the genesis of our relationship, like I usually start all my interviews. And that was at San Diego State. How many years ago now?
Go Aztecs.
That's right. How many years ago are we talking now? 30?
80, probably 87 to 90 for me.
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a long time. Interestingly enough, Scott and I didn't really know each other in college. I actually knew of Higgy, and the reason for that is because Higgy was the big volleyball stud. That's right. And without me, like, just going into tangents and stories, I do need to tell that I remembered that we worked out at the same gym. Tell the people who are watching this are going to be San Diego State people. They're probably already screaming at, what was the name of the gym?
Being Fit.
Being Fit. And who was the man? Who was the grouchy old dick that worked there?
What was his name?
Lenny Hecht.
Lenny, yes.
Yep, Lenny
I forgot
Hecht.
his name, sorry.
Probably the original pervert, the original old man pervert with all the young people there. And he used to love to take pictures and do collages. And I remembered you used to be all over the collages. You had a lot of pictures on rush posters for your volleyball and things like that. Tell me a little bit about volleyball in those days, will you?
Actually, that's how I ended up landing at Kappa Sigma was, proverbial story everyone's been told a million times, which is roommate who wants to go rush a fraternity, talks my good friend Brad Drake and I into coming along because there's free beer, which, and we, full disclosure, we visited, a lot of fraternities, including Sigma Chi. He had a friend who was a Kappa Sig, so he was leaning that way. So we kind of we didn't know anything. We didn't even come to San Diego State. The last thing on our mind was, because we transferred in out of junior college.
Right,
we were a little older, so we weren't, the fraternity, sorority stuff was not in our wheelhouse at all. We were clueless. Other than Animal House.
Ironically, I do remember you to be an older guy compared to me, and now that we're both old, it's like 2 years difference means nothing. But when you're like 18 and somebody's 20, or when you're 21 and they're 23, it's like it's a big difference.
Yeah.
So I do remember that about Kappa Sig, though, is you guys were a big volleyball house and stuff like that. Did you play junior college or do any of that, or you're just a big volleyball?
Grew up playing on the beach mostly. Played indoor too. Played the beach. There were competitive tournaments, and you got ratings and all that kind of stuff. And there were guys that were way better than me. I wasn't tall, really tall, like a lot of guys. Big advantage. But I grew up, playing volleyball. Santa Monica, California. And did not play in high school or in college. Played club and played.
You were like a two-man player guy, not so
I
much.
played six-man too. I mean, I knew the game and all. I mean, we played pickup and we played against people that were on the teams. I just never did for whatever reason. I played football and that was my high school thing.
Do you know of a beach volleyball player named Adam Johnson by chance?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he went to Laguna Beach, and ironically, he lives right here in Austin. I stay in touch with him. He's been kind of big timing me on getting on this show. I don't know what's going on with that, so I'm going to point him out on here. We actually had a few famous volleyball players out of Laguna Beach, though. Dane Blanton and the Dvorak brothers were in Laguna. So. Yeah. Grew up, maybe that's why I kind of keyed in on you two, knowing who the volleyball guys were. Obviously, the Beta House was a huge volleyball like thing. They were on the corner, and they used to hit that volleyball out in the street. Everybody be walking by, and it was like they had that little corner market there on that volleyball scene. Boys, like San Diego State's changed so much since we went there, and I mean now here we are, and I don't want to go out of where we're at right now, stay in college, because there was a point in time where we then ended up meeting up as adults, which I want to tell that story. But staying in San Diego State for a moment, I mean, gosh, we were watching basketball games at Peterson Gym.
I know.
I mean, which is like an intramural gym, folks.
Yes.
And now San Diego State not only has the Cox Arena, but they have the show, and it's like this big thing. They've been to the Final Four, and I mean, let's even talk the Scholastics. I mean, I heard you need like a 3.8 to get in San Diego.
Well, we're not going there now. Or then,
And
for that matter, right? Or maybe you, but
it was the slacker
I definitely
school.
wasn't getting in there.
When we went there, it was the slackers. It was the party school, and if you didn't go to UC,
Right.
you know what I mean,
Right.
then
Well, here, I remember when we were at State. I remember my last year. They wanted to build Cox Arena, and they threw it out to a vote of the students, and it got voted through. And for people that are not our age, that are paying tuition now, back in the day, tuition was dirt cheap compared to now.
Right.
And I remember the assessment to the students as far as raising tuition was going to be like $38 a semester, and there was an outrage.
Right.
I mean, there were people in the Aztec newspaper just bashing, going, we don't even care about basketball. Why should we pay more? And I mean, now we look back and laugh about it, right? Like, it was like peanuts. you
right,
know?
right. I mean, but maybe not at that moment in time. I don't know. Dude, you just said it was in the school paper. What was the name of the school paper? The Daily Aztec.
Daily Aztec.
Okay, so
yeah.
check this out, dude. A funny story I just have to quickly tell is that I was at the school at the time had their dormitory hash in the center of school by the bookstore, if you remember correctly. That's where like meals were served if you lived in the dorms. And I actually was at El Conquistador, which was a private dorms that had its own meal service. But one afternoon I had gone in there with a friend to the San Diego State, what do they call it? Cafeteria. And it was typical style where you go through almost like a hospital and pick your stuff and then check out. And I decided to start eating my cup of fries. And then by the time I got up to the front, I had finished my cup of fries and decided to discard the cup. And sure enough, there was a criminal justice major who was private clothes watching for activity like this. And when we got outside, he sat down next to me and told me that I have to follow him back to the office. And I proceeded to not only get in trouble, but also be put into the school paper then as a thief. And you talk about humiliation, and you will never steal 65.
Name
Yes, don't you remember the way they used to
and
do
your
that?
picture?
No, it was part of the blog at the like a back page where they would
I guess
identify.
I never got in trouble, so I never noticed.
I mean, it's funny you don't remember, though, because I remember and I never forgot. And let me tell you, that was probably a great lesson because I literally didn't feel like I stole anything. I you know what I mean? I ate French fries, and I remember I was very defiant when I got in trouble from the guy, and I was talking back to him and all that stuff. But then once they publicly, tarred and feathered me like that, it taught me a lesson. I haven't stolen anything ever again in my life, I don't think, after that experience.
Life
So, way to go,
lessons.
San Diego State. They did something for me other than just take my money for like 6
They
years.
did more than that for you.
It's funny because now that college is over and stuff, it was such a good time. And I don't want to denigrate the experience because I do think I learned a lot. I learned how to finish something, even though it took 5.5 years, and they slow walked it. They show you how to slow walk it. They tell you to take 12 units as a freshman. And there's no way you graduate on time when you're taking 12 units.
They did it on purpose.
And then you failed,
Not
3 of
bashing
them.
the school,
yeah,
but
so you finish your freshman year with like 15 units, which you should be taking every semester.
Right.
Because you drop a class, you fail a class, etc. ad infinitum. But
On that note, so I was a business major, minor in city planning, and so to graduate, I needed one class my last semester, and it was in the curriculum, right? So I get the class, I show up the first day, and there's only like 3 people in the class, and the teacher goes, "This class is going to be canceled. You'll have to take it next semester." So I had to wait a whole semester to get the class, and I had to take like, I remember one of them was running, and the other one was like
one credit.
Yeah, like
boat,
one credit.
Water
you had to have remember you had to have 6 credits. To stay.
Absolutely, I remember I had weightlifting class and all kinds of ridiculous stuff.
So I had to wait a whole year to take, or 6 months to take this class to graduate.
Well,
finally.
that's why you look so freaking old. Then you were like 32 when you graduated.
It took me 23 years to graduate. So there you go, right?
Oh my goodness.
No, I'm kidding. It was only 5.
Well, so. I took 5.5, and then I walked in 6, though. I mean, that's how long it took.
Yeah.
It took a long time to finish. And thank God I did, though, because, like, again, I'm not denigrating education, but coming from a guy who then went on to more school because it was convenient and my parents were paying and I was partying and they were continuing to pay for it, so I just kept going to more school. It's funny because I even transferred out of business major to psychology because I hated math so much. And by doing that, I it got heavier on like foreign language, but lighter on math.
Yeah.
So there was always this game, there was like, they taught you how to like pivot to keep going.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The class that I struggled the most in was statistics.
Oh,
brutal. I hated it, and I didn't really like it, and I struggled, and our teacher was really hard, really tough.
They still had a psychology of statistics class, which was very math oriented, which was like ridiculous because they told me I was getting away from this, and here I am talking algebra and stuff in a statistics class. Yeah. So anyway, funny bridge then, because I'm sure at Kappa Sig you guys had the same thing. In those days, there was no internet. In fact, one guy had a laptop. It was one of those old, thick kind like this. He was the only guy. A couple guys had PCs, but like we still, like you were top of the end if you had one of those computers where you had an LCD screen line. And when you were done, you'd press enter, and then it would type that line so you wouldn't mess it up.
Right. My roommate...
That was technology.
My roommate had a computer and was dyslexic. So we made a trade. So I go, hey, you let me use my computer to do my papers and to do what I need to do, which was not connected to the internet.
I was smelling a joke coming.
A glorified typewriter with a screen.
Okay.
Because it wasn't even connected to anything.
Right, of course.
And then the trade-off was he would write his papers and then I would proof them and fix them because he would spell dog wrong.
Right.
Or, whatever in punctuation. And there was no spell check. There was no grammar programs.
Well, there was no
days.
AI for plagiarism.
Right.
There was
you were
none
doing
of that.
it all manually. So, but it was a great trade for me because then I didn't have to, go to a typewriter or whatever. I could do it. You could print out off of them. So I was able to print out, like if I had to do, some type of report or whatever. And funny story, real quick, is that I utilized that because my final class when I was talking about that I got was just do a term paper. And it was a group effort, right? So they split us up in these groups. This is a lesson for your kids. So put 5 of us together. This girl and I are the only ones. We would schedule these love library meetings to collaborate, right? Hey, what have you done? Blah, blah, blah. And I mean, this thing, and so she and I were the only ones who did the work. We did the whole entire thing. These other 3 jackals thought they were going to get away with it. Well, at the end of the semester, when we turned the paper in, there was a survey. How much did each one of the students put into the paper?
Ooh.
And they got thrown under the bus, got Fs, and had to take it over again.
Oh, wow.
And didn't graduate because that was the only class they needed to graduate.
Did you guys have test files at your house?
Of course.
I mean, and this was the generation where...
If we didn't have it, you probably gave it to us.
Well, the crazy part is that in those days, like somebody would take the course the previous semester, and these teachers would give the same test, the same Scantron,
Yeah.
the same multiple choice, and people would be incentivized to smuggle the answers out, or at least the test or the questions. And we didn't have cameras to take pictures or anything. Somebody'd steal them, because at the end of the auditorium class, you'd go up to the front and you turn in your book or workbook and your Scantron, and you would keep your workbook and turn it into the test files for points.
I have to tell you this story. You just pinged me on this. So my friend Brad and I, first semester, we're at SDSU, right? And we take the Thursday night proverbial 3-hour class.
2 hour and 40 minutes or 2 hour and 50 minutes.
You know, in the amphitheater kind of seating
Right,
with 500 other people or whatever it was, right?
San Diego State Standard.
We get to the final in our first semester, and they have proxies that walked around to try to keep people from cheating, right?
Right.
They're all over the room. And we're taking our tests and everything, and all of a sudden we hear this proxy go, "Hey, you!" And they're pointing at this guy, and he's in the last seat in the aisle. And they go, "Hey, grab your test and take it down to the front." Basically, they caught him cheating, right? So the guy, and we were almost done. This was probably, you know, towards the end, put it that way. Guy gets up, calmly packs all his stuff up, grabs his test, walks down. The teacher's been reading the newspaper. They weren't even watching. He's reading the newspaper. And there's a stack of tests. He just walks down calmly and just shoves his test in the stack and walks out.
And he got away with it?
Nobody ratted him out. So he had it pre-planned. They had nobody knew anybody's name. The teacher didn't know anybody's name. The proxies didn't know.
Right.
So he just laughed as walked right out.
You know, bro,
and we're like, where are we?
I'm like so embarrassed, but I mean, like, it's kind of like the fun of doing something like this. I'm 55. Nothing can happen to me at this point, but like a similar thing happened to me where me and 2 other guys in my house, because we all had test files, again, mind you, tests from previous, not only semesters, but years. Our test files were huge. It may have been 1989, but we had tests in there from the early 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you had the same teacher, you know, you would want to still review this information. And so me and 2 other guys were in one of those criminal justice oriented large auditorium classrooms, and we had answers and we had information and like previous tests. And I don't remember exactly how it happened, but we all utilized this information to the best of our ability and turned in our tests. And then when it came time for us to get our test, the way that they would do it is they'd go like A through G over here, H through, you know, N over here, N through Z over here, and they'd put the tests in stacks in different parts of the room, and you would go retrieve your tests, one portion at a time. And so they basically did that, and I was up there and I couldn't find my test, and everybody else had found their test, and it was time to call the next group. And they're like, if your test isn't up there, just go sit down. So at some point I'm like, oh fuck. So I went and sat down, and then sure enough, my buddy, same thing happens to him, same thing happens to the other guy. So we know now that we're in trouble because all 3 of us, our tests weren't up there. And sure enough, like, you know, they say, if your test wasn't up there, you need to see the professor at the end of class. And so we go up there and we see the professor, and he's like, you guys all have mysteriously strange similarities in the way you answered these questions wrong. And why would you think this and that? And like some stuff that like just didn't make sense. Maybe the previous person answered the question wrong, and we decided to just answer the question wrong too.
Right.
And so basically it wasn't any proof of cheating, because it's not like we were cheating. We were basically just studying old tests and stuff, right? Yeah. And so it was all in our heads, but we had information to lead him to believe that there was, you know, corroboration here. So he basically just pulled our tests and then made us take tests over again. And he could have kicked us out of school, though, you know what I mean? And he chose not to. Right. And I guess that's part of the deal, though. I mean, it's like, I'm sure that it's so much different to go to school with now computers and stuff. I mean, do you remember the way that you could get a paper from someone else and basically use it as your skeleton and not plagiarize it? But there was no way, like, even... There's just no way. There's just no way. You just, it's information. So I'm sure it's probably easier in some ways, but it's got to be harder in some ways also. I just heard our air conditioner kick on, which sometimes can mean that our voices will be a little bit more muffled and whatnot. I'm going to think this is a good time to end because we could probably go on, and the only people who are watching this now are the diehard San Diego State people. But we're going to come back, and we're going to talk next about how we ended up meeting years later, and one of the things that bonds us now is we both share sobriety in common. So we'll come back in part number 2. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, share. Help me get to 1,000 users, will you? Appreciate it. Thanks, Higgy.
Thank you.